morning, listeners. Through God's strength, guidance, and blessings, this is another live broadcast of Beyond Politics. We are broadcasting on AM 970 WSTX on the beautiful island of St. Croix. As you know, this show is geared to provide information, education, and a positive approach to topics and issues that are current in our community. We discuss with our listeners issues, ideas, and solutions to some of the problems we face. We address the concerns of the community in an open and respectful forum. Guests are invited to provide insight, knowledge, and wisdom in areas that they have experience, training, and education. As proud Virgin Islanders, we seek to uplift, support, guide, listen, follow, and lead all who are interested in a better Virgin Islands.
Good morning. Welcome to another Saturday in the islands, in the Virgin Islands in particular. And welcome to Beyond Politics, a talk show that's specifically on politics, but not solely on politics. I want to welcome my co-host, Roy De Lemos. Hi, Roy.
Carol, how are you doing?
I'm good. You good today?
Yeah. You're looking none the worse for the way for your trip to St. Thomas.
I ain't looking beat up. Nah, because I tell you, I always have an optimistic outlook on things, and I remain that way no matter what. I try to. We're going to begin with it. I believe we have the Senate President on the line, Ronald Russell. Those of you who are familiar with the show know that this is Senate President Russell's show, and from time to time, you know, we either join him or we sit in for him, but today he's calling in because he had to attend a function in St. Thomas. So let's bring the Senator on. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning, Carol. Good morning, Roy. And good morning to the listeners and the wonderful people of the United States Virgin Islands.
Morning.
Yeah. You know, saying good morning, as it may be, is a huge cultural distinction from many places I've traveled to, you know. And I begin with that because I think when you focus on the strengths of your community and the distinctions, many communities have moved away from that. Just simply greeting somebody and giving thanks to God for life. Here we have liberty and freedom, and for the blessings we have. And I just wanted to say that because I was traveling, I'm in St. Thomas, and I'm here to attend a very important Virgin Islands Olympic Committee meeting, an annual meeting. And the whole idea of participating in community things that matter to each individual is also important. Senator Usi Richards is also going to be at that meeting because he is the president for basketball. I'm the president for track and field. And we have always been committed to sports and events that we think help promote our community. But I know the main thing I want to discuss before I leave and put this wonderful audience in your able hands is the budget, and why passing a budget is important, and why during this last 3 days in St. Thomas, the sessions, we had a difficult time, but it was a very good session. And I'm going to announce to the public, you can see the Rules Committee meeting Monday, and then the session that was Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday on Channel 5. It's being played. It's tape delayed, and we're working and getting a live transmission, but you can see it. I was looking at a portion of it last night, and it's available on TV, and you can see your democracy in work. What I'm going to just briefly is outline some of the important measures as to why a budget is important, and give some analogies, and then mention a couple things that people might find interesting to open up the discussion, and then I'll leave. First of all, the main general budget for the legislature is Bill number 29-0194. and it is to provide appropriations. It says an act providing funds for the operation of the government of the Virgin Islands during the fiscal year October 1st, 2011 to September 30th, 2012. Fiscal year begins within a week. Why is a budget important? And why do we have to pass a budget each year? And then how we pass the budget and what's in the budget? Why is that important? Well, first let me begin that the Revised Organic Act provides a blueprint. It is like our Constitution as to how we spend money and how budgets are made. Generally, I think most people know that the Congress of the United States have always had problems with budget because there's always been a difference of opinion as to what you prioritize, what's important, where you spend the money, and how you spend the money. And people know that at times, especially with President Clinton, he took a hard line as to spending the money to help a majority of the people, and one or two times the government was threatened with closing and shutting down. But we don't have that exact situation here. What we have is a situation where if we don't pass a budget, the budget and the appropriations made the year before kick in. They take over. But what we do have is changing circumstances within the last year or two that mandates that we reorganize the priorities of spending. One of the biggest things, Carol and Roy, that has really given people a heartache is this 8% reduction. And I must say that to have a balanced budget, and to have a balanced budget is very important, we had to figure in the 8% into this budget so that the expenditures and the projections of money line up. But what we did with this 29-194 is we itemized and categorized the various categories of spending. So in this one for like the Department of Justice, we reduced the budget, of course, by 8% on each employee, and then we further reduced the expenditures. And in each category, we reduced the expenditures from the personnel services, mainly by eliminating huge chunks of vacant positions. And let me explain that. A vacant position is placed in the budget by a department, and in the Department of Justice and the Bureau of Corrections and Police Department, many of these vacancies are used as they're funded. Nobody is hired. But let's say somebody is being paid in a vacancy, if you were to hire them, $60,000. And the position in a case like this might be a paralegal, Department of Justice, or a supervisory officer in the Bureau of Corrections. But it's not filled. What has been happening is these vacancies, the monies that has been appropriated for that vacancy, is used to pay overtime. And some of these departments had huge amounts of overtime being paid to employees instead of hiring another employee to fill the position. Well, what we did is we cut those vacancies in, sometimes in half, sometimes 2/3, to reduce the budget. And the monies that are available to the various agencies were cut by the vacancy reduction, and we imposed an 8% reduction across the board. So what we did to accommodate that was we itemized the various categories. And in this one that I'm showing the Department of Justice, we had personnel services and fringe benefits, 10.8 million. Then we had capital outlays. We didn't give them any money for capital outlays, so they can't do really no upgrade. For supplies, office supplies and everything, we itemized that to about 75,000. For other services and charges, which they will have in the department because they run a law office and the biggest one in the territory, they had $2 million. For public utilities, which is WAPA, we had close to $200,000. So we have categorized it, and we have forced the departments now to look at their personnel services and fringe benefits and reorganize, because we have taken out the vacancies and we have given an 8% reduction. This was done across the board in the 29-0194 bill, which is the operation of the government, which is the funds that we provided for that. In some of the other departments, what we did, and I'll use the Board of Education as an example because I think that's very important. What we did for the Board of Education, we itemized very clearly the scholarships. We reduced many of them. But as you know, the Board of Education provides funding for scholarships. And it's itemized per scholarship. So that if we wanted to go back in and change it or add to a scholarship, it was very specific. And many of the scholarships for the Board of Education are absolutely necessary because our young people need the money to go on to college to get a better education. Like, for example, there's a music scholarship fund for St. Croix and one for St. Thomas, and it's $8,000. We also have here a Virgin Islands National Guard scholarship. So as you can view the budget bills, you'll see that what we did had a collective effort to deal with the deficit, to line item many of the categories, and then we separated the budget for various agencies and departments into separate bills. So if we wanted to touch the bill for the Board of Education to deal with the scholarships, you'd look at bill number 29-0170. And if you wanted to look at other measures for UVI, there's a bill for that. If you wanted to review for the Waste Management Authority, there's a bill for that. So what we did was give the legislature a lot more control by separating many of the agencies into separate bills, and then we categorized them. So I think all in all, the legislature did a very good job in difficult times to deal with reduced revenue that is supposed to be spread across many agencies to provide services to the people. Now, how does the 8% figure into this? And I need to discuss that. Our measure came up to repeal the 8% during the session. And let me explain to the people that the policy of the 29th legislature under my leadership is to allow every senator to bring forward whatever measure they want to bring forward and to have a vote on it. And it forces the public to pay attention, number one, and to be engaged. But it also demands that each senator take a position on issues that are important to the mass of people, or important to one or two people, or important to a business, or important to a particular subject matter like education. So if you put in a drafting request, and although I might disagree with the policy, we have been able to, with the Legal Counsel's office, which is quite able, to shepherd these bills very fast to bring them to a vote on the floor. The 8% repeal was one.